another episode of For Realness Sake. I'm so excited because I'm also recording for YouTube, so I'm trying not to look at myself, trying to stay focused. It's a lot going on, but I'm so excited to be back and recording and talking to y'all. And so good to see you, YouTube. How you doing, girl? So, this month's theme is about giving grace, as you can see, and I am so excited to have today's guest Tamara with me to talk about giving grace. Hey Tamara, how you doing, girl?
Hey, I am good. I'm excited. I'm super excited. I love your show, so this is awesome.
Thank you so much. I had the opportunity to listen to your podcast as well. As a matter of fact, tell us about who you are, girl. What's your name? What you doing?
Hi everybody, my name is Thamarrah Jones and I am the host of the As It Should Be with Thamarrah Jones podcast.
Yes. Tamara, tell us about your podcast. Tell us about who you are. Anything important that you think that we should know before we jump into this conversation.
Okay, all right. Well, okay, so my show, As It Should Be with Thamarrah Jones, is all about refusing to accept inequity. So I will talk to people who are out here, okay? They are out here really thinking about how they want to leave the world as a result of their work and that the time that they've spent on this earth. So they're thinking about how they want to make sure that in whatever area of work they're doing. I talk to people who are in education, accounting, all the things from everything, and they will tell me all the ways that they are centering equity and belonging in their work and making sure that the impact that they are leaving is one that's going to help make the world, I like to say, we are helping to recreate the world as it should be.
Yes.
So
such a great concept for a podcast. I had the opportunity to listen to the episode where you were being interviewed by someone, and I feel like I know you so much more now that I got a chance to hear that. And what a powerful story you have, breaking those stereotypes, right? And those generational curses on your family.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I talked in that episode a ton just about like my mom, really, because I feel like that's really where I get the pleasure of being here in this world from all of her sacrifice and everything that she's done. But along the way, everybody has had experiences in their life, and it's not, I feel like it's not fair that people are judged based on the experiences that they've had, yes. And then on top of that, the generations that come after them, we're all pigeonholed based on the experiences that our parents did or didn't have, and that ain't okay.
It's not okay, and I'm glad that you're taking a stand for it and saying, or showing rather, how you've broken those generational curses and how you're telling other people, just because this is where we came from, or just because you think that this is where we should go from here, doesn't mean that that's where we have to go. So I appreciated that conversation a lot, and I'm so glad that we get to continue that conversation, but speaking about it with grace, right? I say all the time that grace should be tattooed on my forehead, because I feel like I'm always telling people, as a therapist, telling my clients to give themselves grace, and then also me giving myself some grace because I don't always have it. And so I want to first break down, what does it mean to give grace? And I'll let you answer that question first.
Oh man, for me, I feel like it's allowing yourself to have the space to recognize that you can't have expectations put on you from other people. And you can't walk around and live your life trying to fit in or accomplish other people's expectations. And I know for me, at least, like, I am a recovering people pleaser.
Okay.
Like, I am really out here trying to walk in self-assurance. That's my word. Okay. I'm turning 26 in a few weeks. Actually, by the time this episode comes out, I'm gonna have just turned 26.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. And that's my word of the year for the 26th year of my life is self-assurance. I'm really like walking in, recognizing that I have to give myself the space to accept and own my own opinion and own what I feel like is right and okay for me, set boundaries, and just live by them and live by what I feel like is the vision for my life and not what other people are telling me it should be.
I love that. Come on, self-assurance. Yes. I love grace. I love the idea of being there for yourself. For me, grace honestly has been giving myself the benefit, right? Giving myself the benefit of doubt. I think that a lot of times I am a recovering perfectionist. I say that like I am in the class, okay? I have gotten a t-shirt and gone back several times. But with that, I have learned that I do not have to have all the answers, nor do I have to stretch myself so thin to find out what those answers are. That sometimes just enough, just as I am, that's okay. If that's all that I'm capable of doing or being, I have to be okay with that. And that's what grace looks like for me in this moment, in this season in my life. I feel like that's where I am. And so I want to ask y'all, but I know y'all can't hear me. Well, y'all can't see me. I'm treating this as if it's alive right now. I'm so used to doing that. But I want you guys to think about the people who are listening. What does grace mean to you? And since we're going to be on YouTube, type it in the comments. What does grace mean to you, and how are you showing yourself grace today? Now, when it comes to being a Black woman, Tamara, and even a child of immigrants, one of the big things people talk about is legacy. What are you doing to leave the world better than the generation that follows? Like, what are you doing while you're here, and how is that going to look for other people once you're gone? I think that is a lot of pressure to put on one person.
Yeah, seriously.
How are you thinking about the idea of legacy, and how are you giving yourself grace because of it?
Okay. Come through. I feel like Black people in general, especially in America, because I'm not going to speak for other countries, but I know here, Black people are walking into every space that they're in with that understanding, that unspoken and sometimes very loudly spoken understanding that your presence here and what you do here is going to decide and determine whether or not another Black person gets the opportunity to enter this space. And that's too much. First of all, let's give each other the acknowledgement to know that is too much.
Immediately no.
Immediately no. And then I feel like as like a first generation and having my mom have come here as an immigrant and having had sacrificed all the things that she did to come here, that gives me that added layer of like, not only is when I walk into a space am I representing all the Black people, but I'm also I could very much be the only Haitian person that whoever I'm interacting with has ever had any sort of experience with. And they then decide based on their experience with me what the story that they tell about themselves about Haitian people, the story that they tell to themselves about Haitian people, rather. And that's a lot of all that is just a lot of pressure.
Absolutely.
So legacy, I guess all of those things is kind of what I think about when I hear the word legacy, and so I try not to see any of that as a burden. I know that it's a lot. Like, I know that it feels like a lot of pressure, but I try personally not to see any of it as a burden, because I feel like it's a privilege to be able to do the work that allows the people and the generations that come after me to have a say in what happens to them after this, like what happens to them when they're in a space. I feel like it's a privilege for me to be able to give them that voice, give them that space to be able to have that voice. But I give myself grace in that by speaking honestly. Like, I feel like because of the fact that when you're outside of the community and you don't ever talk about the fact that my interaction with a white woman, she never actually says out loud that she's deciding how she's going to treat other black women based on how she interacts with me, but she is. Mm-hmm. And so I say it out loud. Like, I say it out loud in the room, in the moment, because I am not going to put a pressure on myself. I'm going to put it back on. I'm going to give it back to the person who it belongs to. It's your bias, it's your prejudice that has created this need for the black people who enter this space to have to feel like our representation is a representation of everybody and every single person. So why should I be the only person in this room carrying that? I'm gonna put it out there on the table, and that's giving myself the space and grace that I need to show up and feel confident and feel and embrace the privilege that I have to help the next generation.
I love that. What that sounds like to me is I am taking the responsibility that you've given me. I'm giving it back. I'm relinquishing myself of this role to be all of the people for you. No ma'am, no thanks.
Not today.
I hear that. I think yes, I think that it takes a lot, and it is a burden in a sense, because how I interact with you, person of non-person of color, how I interact with you should not determine how you interact with the next person that looks like me, or vice versa. Like, how about you just be a good person? How about you give everybody the benefit of the doubt or the grace to say, just because Sam over here did this doesn't mean I gotta hold Jerome accountable for it.
Exactly. Like,
but we supposed to treat y'all different. You not your ancestors, but we ours. Make it make sense.
Say that. I've been seeing a post go around that was said, the problem is the fact that slavery is taught as black history and not white people's history.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, these are the actions of your ancestors, but it's being taught as if it is the responsibility of mine.
Ooh,
make it make sense.
I feel like that was a word. That was good. That was so good. And I think that giving yourself the grace to say, I don't have to prove myself to you as a, Haitian American, as a black female, as a person, whatever. I don't have anything to prove to you. And I'm going to give myself the grace to say, take that responsibility away from you, sis. Take the Superman cape off your back. It ain't for you.
Keep it.
You can have it.
There's a creator that I love, a podcaster actually that I love, whose name is Katrina Stroll, and their podcast name is Absolutely Not, and it's all about absolutely not. I'm setting these boundaries, and I'm going to tell you what you are absolutely not allowed to do to me, to anybody else.
Yes.
Absolutely motherfucking not. Like,
so on your podcast, you talk about some heavy topics. I mean, even the one that I mentioned where you talked about the stereotypes and breaking those generational curses, those things can be heavy. It had me thinking about my own life and my own curses and the things that I've been trying to work on with my family. So
I be thinking about that all the time, man. Like, even that one episode, I don't want to, I want you to go ahead with your question.
No, go ahead, girl. Go ahead.
I think about that all the time. Even that one question, not that one question, that one episode, where I've never been interviewed. I had never been interviewed before that last episode that I had just put out. And so this is my first time being interviewed on somebody else's show. So thank you, Kier. But I think about that so much when it comes to how we really just, I don't even know how to explain it, but I was thinking about how when I was a teenager, and as a teenager, people are having have already kind of decided what my life is going to turn out like because of what my mom has gone through. My mom had a kid when she was 16. My mom married somebody who ended up being abusive towards her. My mom, you know, got a divorce or whatever the thing is, like all of the things that you could list. And so we were low income. We were a low income family. Mm-hmm. And so as a result of all of that, like, people looked at me as a 16-year-old little girl, mm-hmm. and said, you're probably going to have a baby by the end of this year. You are probably going to end up really poor. You're most likely going to all of the things, right? Like, continue the list. And I'm just like, bruh, why is it okay for other people to decide what happens to me?
Say that again.
I'm sick of it. Like, it, and it's like, it's as if I'm just supposed to be okay with that, and I'm absolutely not.
Absolutely.
I don't even remember what the question was, but you just mentioned that, and I was just like, bruh, it sits with me a lot when we talk about breaking generational curses, because those things are not your responsibility. The things that have happened in the past, whether it was your ancestors' past or it was your own parent, it's not your responsibility to then go forward and have it put on you that you're going to repeat everything that has ever happened to anybody that came before you.
Oh my gosh. Yes. It really is. And when I think about, you have me thinking now just about my own family and the things that, you know, specifically the women in my family have gone through, from, you know, everybody having children before a certain age and things like that, and kind of being looked at as, you know, a huge accomplishment is not having a baby, right? There's so many other things, you know, like, sure, I didn't have a child, you know, as a teen or whatever, but do I know how to love myself? Did I learn that, right? Did I learn financial security or financial education? Do I know these other things too? Like, I think a lot of times, especially in the Black community, and I can't speak for everybody that's Black, because some people I know had, you know, different experiences, but from the majority of the clients that I see and the people that I interact with, it always seems like there's such a high regard to, you know, not having sex, staying a virgin, all these things. But it's like, yeah, we did that. But what about all the other stuff that was missed because we were so hyper-focused on just that thing? It is not my responsibility to make you or anybody else feel better for not having a child or not doing this or putting so much pressure on that one thing. I can say, as an adult woman that's 29 years old, there are other things that I needed. And knowing that getting pregnant wasn't a good idea for me did not need to be said or harped on. That was very clear, right?
And that was like top of the list. But then there were other things that, like, were never taught. I'm okay.
We got off topic, y'all, but this is so on point right now. Like, we got to do it.
I'm 26, right? I'm going to be 26 when this comes out, and I got married when I was 20 years old. Mm-hmm. And that is one thing that I feel like all of the things that you were just listing were never even on the topic of conversation.
Mm-hmm.
For it was literally like the only thing we were being taught is keep your legs closed, but there was never like clarity on understanding
why.
How are you going to decide why?
Yeah.
But also, who are you going to be in this life? How do you want to show up in the world and be as a woman? And then on top of that, how are you going to figure out who you are as a woman before you become somebody's wife, somebody's girlfriend, somebody's CEO, whatever it is. Like, I remember watching Oprah did an interview with Beyonce when she was like, she just got married. Beyonce had just got married to Jay-Z, and she was on the Oprah show, and Oprah asked her, she's like, how does it feel to be a wife now and instead of a girlfriend? And Beyonce goes, my only advice is to make sure that you know who you are, you have something of your own before you're somebody's wife. And I ain't even gonna lie, that was some unclear advice. It was some unclear advice, cause like for real, it sounded like what she was saying was make sure you have your own money before you're somebody's wife. But Kiera, to your point, it was all of the things that you were just mentioning. It was like, do you know how to love yourself? Do you know what it is that you see as a vision for your own life before you take on somebody else's vision and try to merge them together? Make sure you even have an idea of what yours is. Like, it wasn't clear. The message was like, wasn't nobody teaching this stuff.
Listen, and you know what? I love my good sis Beyonce, Auntie Beyonce. We love you, girl. Would love to have you here because we got some questions, some follow-up questions to what you said. One of the things that Beyonce has always said that has always rubbed me the wrong way, I think she said it on her Homecoming, I think it was the Homecoming Netflix documentary.
Oh, special.
And when she was like, we all got 24 hours. And I sat there with that. And at first I was like, you know what? She's right. We do got 24 hours. But sis, you have a team. And all the people on your team also have 24 hours. I only got this one person, me, with these 124 hours. But you have 500 people who can also do whatever you need them to do. And you getting a whole bunch of stuff done. That was unclear to me.
It was unclear.
Why am I waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning trying to do all the things when you could wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning, but your assistant could wake up at 12 and everything that you needed by 4 o'clock is done? You know what I'm saying?
It was already done.
It be that for me. It like, sis.
It's somebody connect the dots, because if all throughout our life, like y'all talking to us when we in our teens and early whatever, and you telling us like, okay, keep your legs closed, make sure you got your own, make sure you whatever, all of the things. But can we go deeper into
There's
this?
More
Can we
to
get
it.
into the why, the how?
Yeah, I think that what I needed when I think about this now, not to, diminish or demean anything that my mom had done, because she did a lot. She did what she knew how to do. But I think that it would have made much more sense, because I came from a heavy Christian background. Like, we were in church probably 4 days a week, Wednesday night church, youth group on Thursdays, dance on Saturdays, and then church on Sunday. So I spent a lot of time in the church. Not to mention I also went to a Christian school for a good amount of time as well. And so I understand, a lot of things reverted back to, the Bible, this Christian background and things like that. Something that I think always stuck with me, or what I remember from a child, is that you're supposed to save yourself for your husband, right? For your husband. A lot of emphasis was placed on how special, your virginity is and how you should save it for your husband. But I'm a whole person by myself. And what if my desire is not even to be married? I am married, love my husband, but what if that wasn't my desire? Now, who am I saving myself for now? Or what's the reason? I think that too much emphasis is placed on the woman doing something for somebody else. What about me? What am I doing for myself? And why does this matter to me? If it matters. Maybe I discover it doesn't matter that much to me. But because it's been placed on me, this burden, right? Not saying that is right, not saying that is wrong, but now I have this extra burden on top of being a teenager, on top of having my own feelings and things that I'm trying to work out. Now I gotta hold myself accountable to this higher standard for this imaginary man that I may never meet. But I'm holding
that I may never even want.
I'm holding myself for him. For whatever he is, I'm holding myself for my husband. So nope, can't talk to him. I'm holding myself for my husband, child. I cannot talk to you. Are you my husband? No, you're not. Right? So much emphasis, so much power for a child to have to think. 16. one day this gonna be for him. What about me?
I feel like that was such a word. That was such a word, what you just said. You said that there is so much emphasis on women doing things and preparing themselves for somebody else, but never figuring out
what
they are, what they want, how life needs to, how life should be, how they want their life to be shaped.
Yes.
What do they? I
that was a word.
Still figuring all of that out, dog. Like, I swear, I'm a whole wife. I am a whole 25, about to be 26. Like, I am a whole career. I have a whole career. I am, and still, there was never a point in time where it was like just figuring that out up until now.
Yes. And I think that is such a powerful realization that you have accomplished all these things, right? Because I think for a marriage is an accomplishment, because it takes a lot of gusto to say you go stick beside this person, whoever that person is, and take on their garbage too, right? So that in a sense, that is something that's very special, would never take away from that. But I think it's also a powerful realization to say, I don't have it all yet. Even though I chose to be with this person, I still don't 100% know who I am. And I think that if more emphasis was placed on that first, then a lot of women would take themselves out of a lot of difficult or uncomfortable situations. I thank God for my journey, because it allowed me to learn more about who I was before marrying my husband. Although we were together for about 6 years before we actually got married, we were long distance. So I still had a chance to get to know me. And even in those 6 years, I can say I really came into my own probably about 2 years ago. I'm almost 30 now. I'm 29. Wow. And so it wasn't until I had some realizations going to therapy, which I'm a huge advocate for, but also realizing that all this time I had been trying to be what society, what my mom, what the folks, whoever said that I should be, and not a lot of time was spent on who I actually was. And when I had a chance to look at myself and see who I was, I said, I don't even like this stuff. This ain't even me. This is not even me.
Yeah, so to the point of like even little things, like a hobby.
Yeah.
Like a hobby, like being able to pick up things and figure out what are the things that like fill you up and make you feel refilled and replenished and just excited. You have to be, you have to have time to sit with yourself to even figure out what any of those things are.
Yeah. Real time with yourself, like really trying to get some understanding for who you are, and then giving yourself grace for not knowing. I apologize to myself. Yes. I think that trying to be all the things for all the people and that perfectionist spirit that I used to have, that I'm working on real hard, I think that I had to give myself some grace for that, and saying that I didn't have to have all the answers. It's okay that I'm learning, that I'm relearning who I am. I'm really introducing myself to myself for the first time, right?
Yeah, I felt that in my spirit when you said it, because I felt like you're working on your perfectionist spirit. I'm working on giving myself grace for having had that people pleaser spirit, and still at times like walking in that. Like at times I still do walk in that. Like I will see myself choosing things because I know somebody else would like it, or choosing things because I don't want to feel like I'm doing too much, whatever that means. Like
whatever that means.
And I have to give I have to give myself grace for those things when they happen, because I'm still learning. Like I talk to myself in the third person all the time. I'll be like, listen, Tamara, you're still figuring out, and it is okay. And
yes, it is.
I need that.
No, I want you to sit in that. Wait, let me not go therapy on you. Let me not therapize you. But I want you to sit in that for a moment, because that really is what it's about. This is what grace feels like. This is what it is. Wow, I have not been treating myself in the best way. Let me give myself a little bit of that. I deserve it too. I give it out so freely. I give people the benefit of the doubt so freely. Why am I holding myself to this so hard? Don't I deserve it too?
Wow. Yeah, seriously, because you can't expect yourself to know it, to know everything that you need at every moment of time. I'm like recently, I don't even remember what happened that week. I think it might have been the week where all the news was coming out, about the Haitians at the border who were being whipped by the law enforcement, and I was working that week. And I was working, and I'm like, doing all the things, and I woke up, went straight to work, and just felt drained. I felt exhausted, but I'm like, I didn't do anything today. I just been, on this computer. But that, first of all, working your brain is doing something, and also, like, you're consuming all of this media that's just been toxic, and you've been internalizing all of that without even giving yourself the space to talk to yourself about it, or talk to somebody else about it, and how it was hitting you, and you just continue to push through your day without giving yourself any space, any grace. And I also didn't even, I didn't know like what it would look like for me to give myself space. And so I just hit up my boss. I was just like, yeah, I'm gonna take a step away from the computer for just for like an hour or two, and then I'll let you know. And I didn't come back to work that day. I just didn't come back to work that whole day. I came back the next day, and I was like, yesterday ended up being exactly what I needed, because I did some meditation, I did some yoga, I laid in the tub, got some self-care bathtub stuff happening.
Yes.
And like put on like a meditation kind of podcast and laid in there, and I was chilling for the whole rest of the day. And that for me was the first time that I had ever recognized what it actually felt like to give myself grace, to feel like I didn't have to push past what I was experiencing. And to like figure out just how do I give myself back, like how do I give back to myself. How do I do that? That was,
I, no lie, when you said that, I felt that so strongly when you said you didn't have to push past what you were experiencing. How many of us, especially women of color, have to experience those things and have that same feeling, that burden of, I gotta do it anyway, which is a motto of mine, to do it anyway. But when it comes to dismissing your own feelings to get it done, immediately no, I'm not gonna do that.
Absolutely not.
And I love how you said that. It was so beautifully worded. I wish that more people, including myself, took a little bit more time to say, I'm going to sit in this, whatever this is, and allow myself to feel my own feelings for once in my freaking life. Can I just feel it?
Say that, please. Do that. More importantly, do that.
That was good, Tamara. That was really good. I don't even know if you realize what you just said, but you said something, girl. Yeah.
Okay. I'm glad I could contribute to the realness of this show.
The beauty behind sisterhood and the beauty behind, for realness sake, we always like to share about new ways to show ourselves love. So when you think about the word self-love, you think about the actions that you can do. What are some things that you do for self-love? How do you show love to yourself? Let us know.
Ooh, that is an awesome question. I think one of the things that I'm really starting to practice now is that awareness of when something is too much for me. and allowing myself to step back from it. Because one of the things that you said early on was like, a lot of the topics I talk about on my show are heavy, right? Like,
Yes.
and it's heavy, and then it's like existential. Some of it, like, I'm not even gonna lie, like some of it's like real deep, and but I also really like to read, right? Like I really like to read nonfiction books. So it's like I'm talking about these heavy topics, and I'm reading about these heavy topics, and I'm like, oh, this is a little too much, right? And then I be like, I'll tell myself, okay, this is entirely too much, but I know you enjoy reading. Reading is something that you really love to do. So how about we read some young adult fiction fantasy books this week? How about we read some Jasmine Guillory, because she's always all about the Black romance.
Yes.
Like, how about we how about we read something that is light and fun, and that's just going to fill you with joy and fill your spirit and those kind of things. And outside of that, I have gotten so deeply into like really meditation and like podcasts that are really like meditational or like therapeutic kind of shows. Like I don't know if you listen to Balanced Black Girl.
Yes, I do actually.
Yes, that is it right there. Like that is one of the ones that I will take with me anywhere, because it's really one of those times when you kind of feel in community with another Black woman, and you feel in community, and you're able to just relax and listen to those kind of things, and of course like spending buku time with my husband, and we just be going hiking and going in the woods and going on mountains. And
okay, Black people in the woods. Come on, y'all in the woods.
I swear that man, he will go. I bought him a katana, which is like a sword, and he'll like take his ass into the woods and like swap around with his swords or whatever in the woods, girl. In the woods, a Black man with dreads in the woods with a sword. Like, what are you even?
Listen, my husband would never, okay? Never.
Oh, man.
Wow.
Yeah. So I think that right now is really how I'm thinking about showing myself love, giving myself space when I know that something is too much for me, like actually acknowledging it and taking the space, and then really just doing things that are fun, like genuinely just innocently fun, like just actually genuinely fun.
I like that. I think that is a way to encompass both self-love and self-care. Giving yourself the time and the grace, and then doing something in replacement for whatever the heavy thing is that you might have done or used to do. So I love that. Love that for you. I think that I show myself some self-love, aside from giving myself all the grace, is recognizing when I need a break. I think that is huge for me. Even with taking a break from the podcast, which I didn't want to do, I think I felt so overwhelmed about being on YouTube, about being still trying to keep up with the podcast episodes, about being a whole therapist in these Tampa streets and holding space for everybody else, trying to get my house together with redecorating and things like that. It just felt like so much. And I said, you know what? I needed to take a break. And sadly, it was the podcast that had to take a little pause. But in doing so, I feel so much more clarity, even in being able to talk to you. And I also wanted to say thank you, because I was going to be on break probably until December. But you reached out to me through email saying that you wanted to be on the podcast, and that just talking to you for those 30 minutes that we spoke really motivated me and got that spark back. So I want to say thank you so much for making it okay for me to take a break, and also holding space and letting me know that I can come back whenever I want and still be right on track like I always was. So I appreciate you, Tamara, for that.
Absolutely. I want to encourage you to take any space that you need, because the world needs you here for as long as we have the privilege of having you.
Yes.
And every break in space that you need, I want you to take it, because as soon as you are ready to come back, we will be here cheering you on.
Thank you. You're not gonna make me cry. The folks on the podcast know I will cry in a minute, and it is not happening today. Okay.
You look real good today with all that, like, yes,
girl,
come through. Them braids is fresh.
They're so fresh. It's honestly the lighting, I think. But yes, shout out to Lee Braids. She always does such a great job on my hair. If you in Tampa, y'all come get your hair done by Lee Braids. This has been one of the most easiest conversations I've had in a while, Tamara. Thank you so much for blessing us with your presence, your knowledge, your sisterhood, and that glow, honey, because you are glowing, okay?
Thank you. Dermatologists
yes.
and whatnot, they are a blessing.
Come on, clear skin, okay. Tamara, let us know where we can find you. Tell them where to find your podcast and your Instagram, girl.
Oh, okay. Well, you can find me literally any and everywhere by just looking for my name, Thamarrah Jones. I know that it is not the easiest name to spell, but ThamarrahJones.com, ThamarrahH Jones.com. All the things are there. You can look for me on Instagram at Thamarrah Jones. You can look for me on LinkedIn. And yeah, please be in community. I would love to have you.
Yes. Thank you again. All right, y'all. That's all I got. YouTube, I will see you on the next one. If you're listening on the podcast on Apple, Spotify, Google Play, Pandora, iHeartRadio, and now Amazon, thank you so much for listening, y'all. We are like 90 downloads away from 10,000 downloads.
Oh my gosh,
so
that's
please,
amazing.
Run it up, y'all. I am so appreciative of everybody who has even taken a moment to subscribe, listen, share this video, my podcast. I'm so appreciative, and we're only going up for here. I could not have been here without you guys. I'm so appreciative. So more is on the way. Tamara, thank you again for getting me back on track, girl, and I wish you all the best. I know that this is only the beginning for you and I. So, see you on the next one. Bye. Bye.